Hey, what's up guys? My name is Azoh and it is super late, but I wanted to make a video. So there's kind of an insult in the League of Legends community, which might be in other gaming communities as well, I'm not entirely sure, but it is 2,000, 3,000 games, like a lot of games, and a 50% win ratio. And it's said to someone who's like Diamond 3. So I understand the segmented insults, like 2003, like a lot of games. Like, what a nerd, who plays some money games, right? It's one insult. I understand 50% win ratio, like, weak win ratio, bruh. And, well, Diamond 3, because, that's kind of for people like I hang out. But when you combine both a lot of games and a 50% win ratio as the insult, like the insult is that they have so many games and they still only have a 50% win ratio, it's such a bizarre insult to me. And I still don't understand it. And I'll try to explain why. So, side note here, I am gonna try to show you something via Paint. And I cannot draw. In Sweden we have, in middle school, I think it's middle school, I could never translate if it's high school, middle school, college, and all that to Sweden. I think it's middle school. We can decide one grade, one subject, and the grade in that subject, we can remove that from the overall grade. And for me, that was arts, and you'll see why in a second, or you might already. So we're gonna take a look at Steve. Steve plays ranked League of Legends. And Steve has a 55% win ratio, because 55 is the number that most people get in their heads as the appropriate number. If you have 55% win ratio, you will climb. I do believe LS has said it multiple times that 55% is the optimal win ratio if you want to climb. If you have it, you'll obviously climb eventually. So I think that's what people have stuck in their heads. Not in a bad way. 55% is optimal to a point. And I'll show you what I mean. So let's say Steve, he plays 20 games of ranked. And with his 55% win ratio, he wins 11 of those games, and he loses 9 of those games. So he net wins 2 games. This is going to be a very sweaty episode, because if I make a single mistake in these maths, someone is going to get me on that. But Steve, let's say he plays 100 games, and he wins 55 of those because he's very consistent, 55% win ratio, and he loses 45 of those games. He nets 10 wins in total. Let's say he plays 200 games. He wins 110 of those games, and he loses 90 of those games. He nets 20 wins. Starting to see the problem yet? Say Steve plays 1,000 games of ranked, and he wins. He's extremely consistent, 55%. 550 of those games, and he loses 450. He nets 100 wins. Now I'm gonna step away from this example, and I'm gonna take another example, or another argument, and understand that I'm taking this in a vacuum. I know that there are variables like ranked, like DK, like dodging in promos, and promos in general, which make this a little bit harder to be more exact with, and the fact that we can't see our MMR, which makes it a little bit more tricky. But say you added 100 wins to wherever you are right now, whatever rank you are right now. That would be a significant increase, especially considering most divisions between 2 divisions is approximately 7 to 9, I think, depending on your MMR. Between 2 divisions, you have to win 7 to 9 games. So adding 100 would be a significant increase in your rank. So are you seeing the problem yet? 55% win ratio. Let's say Steve plays 2,000 games, which isn't impossible. There are a couple of people who play 2,000 ranked games per season. And he then wins 1,100 games, and he loses 900 games, meaning he nets 200 wins. He has 200 more wins than losses. Let's say Steve plays 10,000 games. He's extremely good or extremely bad. They're all FF at 20, so he has a time for a lot of games. He then wins 5,500 games and loses 4,500 games. He nets 1,000 games. He wins 1,000 games more than he loses. Take whatever rank you are at right now, take whatever low rank friend you have, add 1,000 wins to their account, and they would be very, very, very high elo. You can go even more crazy with this example. Add another 0. Say he has 100,000. Then he wins 55,000, loses 45,000. He nets 10,000 wins. The problem is the more games you have, the closer you will go to 50%. So people getting stuck on the fact that 55% is optimal and 50% isn't is a mistake, I think. Now, obviously, no one has time, or it's not even possible, I think. I mean, it's probably theoretically possible to play like 10,000 games. Yeah, it should be. But anyway, no one has time to play a ridiculously large amount of games. And, you know, but even so, it's still relevant, because even at 2,000 games, you're talking about such a significant increase. God damn it. But it's still relevant because even at 2,000, 3,000 games, you're talking about a significant increase, especially considering, and this is another curveball people ignore, most people who are at 2,000, 3,000 wins and around Diamond 3, Diamond 2, Diamond 4, where these insults are being thrown at, usually, they played the season before, meaning their MMR was only soft reset, meaning after a couple of games into the new season, they hit their average skill, like they hit where they're usually at, where people who are as skilled as them are. So maybe they're good enough to be Diamond 3, that's their skill rating, right? And obviously a skill rating isn't locked in Diamond 3, it fluctuates, but that's about how good they are. So they play a lot of games and they win approximately half of their games because that's how good they are. They go up and down, right? They have streaks and they have bad streaks. They have good streaks and bad streaks. But getting locked into this, that there's only one optimal win ratio, 50% is always bad, is a big mistake. Especially when you... And that's the problem. I just don't see why it's an insult to combine the two when you actually think about how it makes no sense. Or does it make sense? Is there something I'm missing here? Because I'm also thinking about when you talk about the guy who's Diamond 3 and you say, wow, he has 5,000 games and a 50% win ratio. You have to understand that guy who's Diamond 3, let's say he played 3,000 games for simplicity's sake in this example, and he played, let's say he played 6,000 games this season, and he's Diamond 3. Like, when you look at his OP.G, you see he's Diamond 3, and he has just lost, and you just see he's Diamond 3. And you see, oh, he has so many games and only a 50% win ratio. He could have just lost 30 games, demoted from Master, dropped all the way down there. He was almost Challenger, dropped whoosh, all the way down. And that would be, what, half a percentage difference for him in his win ratio, I think? Like I said, this is a problematic video because I'm going to make a mathematical error somewhere. But you have to understand that 30 wins or 30 losses basically don't affect his win ratio at all. In the long run, they're not going to affect his win ratio at all, because the more games he plays, he's going to get closer to 50% anyway. So, in the end, you might be insulting someone who's normally at Master Tier with a 50% win ratio, meaning he's very, very accurately Master Tier. Or he might not be, but that's the point, because you can't assume things on win ratio when there's so many games involved. Because the games themselves start to lose value, lose meaningful statistical value in terms of accurately pinpointing where that person should be. That person might be Diamond 5, he just had a really lucky streak. but he would still be at 50% because he's played so ridiculously many games that the games themselves don't affect his win ratio at all. It's easy to compare to... it's not really the same as comparing KDA because there are so many more factors with KDA champion. How much you win when you're ahead, if it's a snowball champion, if it's something that benefits from dying, it's something that rarely ever dies, like John LeBlanc. But similarly, when you have enough games, one game is not going to affect your KDA, your overall average KDA on that champion. So I suppose my point of this video is, I would never recommend insulting or being rude to anyone, obviously, but if someone says something like that to you, I suppose, not to not be very offended by it, because in the end I just don't see how it makes any sense. So I suppose that's that. I guess that was the point of the video. Hope you guys all enjoyed. And if I'm wrong, please let me know in the comments, and I'd love to have a discussion about it. See you all next time. Peace.